Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Wonder Freely. We've had a bunch of questions about our truck, and so finally somebody asked us to do a video on it, and we are going to be doing that now. So today's video is all about the truck. Naturally, I will be answering all of the questions
She is the expert out of the two of us.
because I'm a diesel expert.
That's right. Actually, neither of us are experts.
Okay,
So,
so to
it's a
start,
business.
in order for us to discuss the truck, we thought that the very first thing that we would do is go over the about part of it, which is how this came about, how we ended up with our truck, what we went through, what the process was like, and how we got to where we are.
So, we had our fifth wheel trailer purchased, and that was time to find a truck. And the first big decision was gas versus diesel. And this is really just the research that I did to, figure out which direction we wanted to go in. I grew up driving cars. I had a mid-sized truck as a company vehicle prior to the truck that we have now. So I'm, never was a truck guy. I was kind of starting from scratch on the full-size heavy-duty truck research. Looking at how we were going to be using the truck, we anticipated at least 50% of the time we would be towing. It's felt like, having more towing capacity with the diesel, a little better fuel economy, seemed like the right way to go. So decided on a diesel and then started looking at which types of trucks were out there. So looked at, obviously, Dodge, but also looked at Chevys, Fords, would have looked at Toyotas and Nissans, but at the time they didn't have any diesel trucks available. Of course, Nissan does now, but didn't at the time. And we also knew that we wanted to find a used truck because we wanted to actually be able to afford it. And the new trucks out there now are beautiful, but boy, are they expensive. So we were looking for, 2005 to 2007 kind of range. It seemed like that would get us to where the mileage that we wanted to, find on the truck, and also kind of be close to our price point. So starting out, we were hoping to try and find something around $25,000. And not too much searching, quickly showed me that it might have to go up a little bit higher than that. Sure, the looks of the truck, were kind of important, but even more so, we really just wanted to find something that was reliable with how much driving we were going to be doing. We just wanted to be able to depend on it. Knowing that we wanted a diesel, I started looking at, okay, what are the more dependable or reliable diesel engines that are out there? Again, for the date of the truck that I was looking at, early 2000s, 2005, 6, something like that. At that time, I think the Ford diesels were having a little bit of trouble. Some of them were very good. Others, I forget the size of the one, but they were a little iffy. So that kind of steered me away from the Fords. The Chevy Silverados, they had the Duramax and very good engine. They seemed to be a little bit more expensive than the Dodges, so the Dodges were kind of in the middle ground, and I started to focus more on those. And also they had the 5.9 liter Cummins, which I read a lot about. Sounded like people were saying that was a good dependable engine, so that sounded good. Started to really zero in on the Dodge Rams. We were looking at a 2500. Given the weight of our camper, like the dry weight of our camper is about 7,200 pounds, which nowadays is pretty light. Once we pack all our stuff in it, we figured adding about another 1,500 pounds. So we were looking around 8,800, 8,700 pounds total that we needed to tow. So I wanted something that could tow at least 9,000 pounds. And that put us in, whether it's a Ram 2500 or the Silverado 25 or the Ford F250, that was the range of truck that we were in. So I'm starting to narrow it down. But then there's just more options that you got to consider.
And we were on a really short
we had about
timeline.
Well, we bought the camper and we were picking up the camper in like 3.5 weeks. So I started my search 3.5 weeks before we had to show up at the camper dealer to pick
it up, which obviously we could not do with my 4Runner.
No.
So, and keep in mind, at this point, Chris is leaving his job, so he's getting rid of his company vehicle.
Right.
I have my 4Runner, which we're selling to go for the money to go towards the new truck. It was a whole lot all at the same time. It was
in
very
some ways
compressed.
probably helped, because it just forces you to make decisions
Yes.
But yeah, it adds a little
Make
pressure.
decisions and move on. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we were thinking Dodge, we knew 2500, we knew diesel, then it was short bed versus long bed. You know, regular cab versus crew cab. Like, I knew we had a 28-foot fifth wheel. So I'm thinking, all right, I need a big enough truck to handle it, but I also want to keep the truck as small as possible just to, you know, limit the overall length of this craziness I'm going to have driving down the road.
Keep in mind, we had never towed a thing.
Yeah, I towed a 10-foot trailer to the dump once. Once. That was my towing experience. So, yeah, it was a little, hey, nowadays, I really enjoy towing days. Like, I've gotten used to it. It's a lot of fun. Back then, when I hadn't towed anything, yeah,
We were
28-foot
nervous.
fifth wheel, and I don't know how long the truck is, but yeah, it's a lot.
It was more.
Feels
It
like
was
a lot.
long enough to us, and so we wanted to keep the truck
Yeah.
as short as possible.
Right, so I was looking at just a regular cab truck with a long bed. And why short bed versus long bed? So if you have a long bed, an 8-foot bed, and you put a regular fifth wheel hitch back there, then you can pretty much turn wherever you got to turn, however sharp you have to turn, without worrying about too much, relatively speaking. If you have a short bed, 6-foot or 6.5-foot bed, and you have a regular hitch, then you got to be careful. If you turn too tight, the back of your camper can actually smack into the back of your truck cab, and that's a bad thing. Now they have slide hitches, which we actually wound up getting a slide hitch. I'll talk about that later. That help make all that work, but a slide hitch, you can get an automatic one and spend thousands of dollars on it, or you can get a manual one like we have, and you're getting out of the car, out of the truck, sliding the thing back. Okay, well if you're in a jam, okay. Right. A lot of things to consider. So I like the idea of the shorter bed because it kept the overall length of the truck shorter. If we go shorter on the bed, we could go bigger with the cab. We went with the 4-door crew cab so that we would have more space to store stuff for travel days, regular day trips once we get places, and felt like that might be a good fit. 4 doors. And, they have the ones with the suicide doors, the fold-out doors. That's another option, too. We preferred the 4-door option.
And also, we knew that our family's members would be coming and visiting us at different times throughout the trip, and so we wanted to make sure that, my mom was going to be able to.
That's right.
Be comfortable, and my parents would be able to sit in the back seat, and his parents could sit in the back seat, and we can go places and it be comfortable.
Yeah. So after all those decisions and whittling everything down, we wound up going with the 2006 Dodge Ram 2500 crew cab, diesel, short bed. I think that says everything. Yeah, and it had I didn't even mention this earlier. So, the diesels, when I'm looking for them, apparently anything under 100,000 miles is just broken in, which sounds nuts, being a car guy. So we got ours with 88,000 miles on it, which for a 5.9 liter Cummins is apparently just broken in. So we hope we get many, many more hundreds of thousands of miles out of it, or whoever owns it after us. and we'll see how all that goes. So also the hitch, I mentioned it earlier. We went with the slider hitch, manually operated, so that if in fact we did get in a tight jam, we could slide the thing back. In over a year of towing, almost 13,000 miles worth of towing, we haven't used it once, which is great. I mean, it's great to know that it's back there if we need it, but it's something to consider. And our camper 2006, it's kind of the old body style where the nose, right, the part that's over top of the truck bed, it's squared off on the sides. Pretty much all the new ones have rounded edges on the side, which really help increase how tight you can make turns. Ours is the old school one where they're squared off, so we have even less room to turn than normal. And again, haven't had to use a slide hitch
I
yet.
think it's just your great driving skills. I've talked about it before.
that?
Chris is an excellent driver. No, but seriously, everybody kept saying you have to have a slider.
They did.
Right?
Yeah,
that was
oh, yeah.
one of those
Short
pieces
bed,
of
gotta have a
advice
slider.
and the research that we did. And to some extent, you have to use your own discretion and discernment and be able to make decisions for yourself. And so you're going off of all the information that you take in. But that was one of the points I remember specifically. You have to have a slide.
That's right.
You have to have a slide hitch. You have to. And sure enough, we haven't used it once.
I haven't used it once, and really, I mean, what it boils down to, and I think a lot of people do this anyway, when you're towing something of that length, I mean, you're looking at things differently. You're looking at gas stations differently. You're looking
Yeah.
at your RV parks differently as you're approaching certain areas. You're going to know, all right, it's easy to get in. How am I going to get back out? And if you really kind of be cognizant of that,
You can probably
can
avoid
make it
most
work.
of it. But now
Yeah.
that's just us saying
that's
that.
just us.
That's
Right.
our over a year of
I mean,
experience
the
not having to
automatic
use
slider hitch thing that automatically slides back as you start turning. That sounds awesome. I mean, that's so cool.
it. Right.
But that wasn't.
You're
in the
paying
budget.
for it, yeah.
I don't know how much those things are. I wouldn't even look at.
So what did our cost for a truck?
So just for the truck, without the hitch or anything, taxes, tags, everything all included. I think ours was about $31,000. So, not bad for what we got out of it. We've been happy with the truck so far, and it's done a fantastic job towing. That's where ours came in at. So we've had the truck, and now we've driven it around. Normally, we've driven around towing for over a year. So how about some likes and dislikes?
And why don't you just go over the mileage again? It's been over 25. It's been.
Yeah, we're probably close to 26 or 27,000 miles now, and we've towed over 13,000
There you go.
in a year. So, I mean, it's used pretty heavily.
So we'll start with our dislikes, and we're just gonna go right down through the list.
Yeah, dislikes. Some of these are obvious, but it's a dislike. Loud.
It is very loud.
It's loud. I mean, we knew that going into it. Okay, it's a diesel. It's going to be loud. Some days it's still shocking how loud it is. And it's just a plain factory diesel. We didn't,
No.
Of course, we didn't put any aftermarket stuff on it. And we didn't buy it that way either. So, surprisingly enough, it's as quiet as it will be.
And I will say that is one of the biggest shockers. We bought our fifth wheel. We're getting rid of all of our stuff. We're quitting our jobs. We're going through all of these huge transitions. And yet I will never forget the first truck. We had 3 weeks to buy a diesel truck, and the first truck we went to test drive, and the guy pulls it around, and we're standing out in front of the dealership, and he pulls it around, and I'm like,
You could just hear it coming.
that's not us, right? And Chris
It's like
is
a commercial vehicle.
it
sounds
sounded like a tractor trailer. I mean, that's what, to me, and Chris is like, oh, honey, that's going to be us. And
Sure enough. You would expect this
That-
monstrosity to come around the corner, and it's a big truck, but not for the
It's
sound that it puts out.
almost broke me for the whole trip. I mean, I think that, and for you too, that was so far out of our comfort zone between the noise and how big, and just the fact that we had no experience with diesels,
Yeah.
that almost broke us for the trip. The rest of the
That's true,
quitting
yeah.
our jobs, starting a
Yeah.
business on our own,
Small
all
beans.
these, yeah.
It was easy.
But
the
for the
diesel
truck-
it was something about like just not even towing and having to watch as I'm making turns. I'm like, what am I doing in this thing? It's enormous.
Yeah. So it was loud, but we got over it.
Yes.
Mostly, yeah.
Loud for a reason.
Yeah.
Bumpy. This might have a lot to do with we got the 4x4 version, which I mean most trucks are 4-wheel drive. I don't know this. I've had people tell me it's like the 4x4 version, so it sits up higher and it's it's going to be bumpier.
It's
The
killer.
suspension is ridiculous. I mean,
It's killer. It makes you
it's so
seriously,
bumpy.
yeah.
Yeah, it is
and it's
not
fine on
a
regular
smooth
roads,
ride.
but you do not want to be doing unpaved roads. It's difficult.
unpaved roads.
And
yeah.
that has been hard for us because not that often, but there have been a couple times like in Big Bend National Park in Texas, and a couple times where we've been like, man, we really want to
Yeah.
go down the road. And a couple times we tried it and gone a couple miles and been like, oh my gosh.
It's like just there's
I mean,
somebody
it
in
makes
the
your stomach
cab
sick.
with a jackhammer. It feels
Yeah,
like.
that's-
it's
it's-
just so bumpy.
So
Yeah, but
going along with that, it's not, Chris doesn't like to drive it over 70 miles
yeah,
an
it's
hour.
not good. And again, I mean, it's old. It's 10, 11 years old. I mean, I see these new trucks flying by us with no problem on the highway. But
It's
ours,
just shaky.
it's just shaky. I mean, it cruises
And
along,
bumpy.
but if you get up above, it can go above 70, but it really starts to get shaky. Now, when I'm towing, I don't go above 65 anyway, so I mean, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's probably more of a pet peeve thing, but
Oh yeah, the tailgate doesn't lock. This is the Toyota Tacoma that I had was the same way, and I actually had a bed cover on that, and so that one's kind of irked me for a number of years. It's like if you have a bed cover on it, you put the tailgate up and you lock it, then everything that's in your bed has a little bit of a level of security. But so this one doesn't lock either. It'd be nice if it did.
the exterior look, that's probably more maybe me.
Yeah, and me a little bit. You
We
know.
definitely
It's
prefer,
nice.
right, we prefer the look of the Silverados.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just a preference.
it's just a preference thing,
little bit
right?
sharper
We
looking,
prefer
I
it to
think.
the Dodge. However, we like the reliability that we have, and that
Yeah.
was more important.
And I
to
like the
us.
look of the Dodge a little bit than the F-150 or 250 or whatever.
Right. And that's
so.
just preferences.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. The maintenance cost.
Because
you
it's
know,
a diesel.
Yeah, again, you got to know that going into it, and I did. And then, you see the reality of it, and it hurts a little bit, but it's for a reason.
Okay, so those are our dislikes, but now we're going to go over all of the things that we like about our truck.
That's right, and there are plenty. Number one, no problems with the mountains. That's the truth. We've been up a lot of mountains now, some steep ones, steep grades for long distances, and that sucker has power. So,
We have never had a problem.
It's great. It's great towing. When you're not towing, I mean, I've had the cruise control set on 65 or whatever, and I mean, it zooms right up the sides of mountains. The power is impressive, and we really like that. And you really feel safe towing the trailer, which is most important. Got to have confidence in it.
Yeah.
And from day one, it's given us that, and we really like that about it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Next was that it's simple.
Yeah, and we might be in the minority on this one. We really enjoy because it's
I'm
a
pretty sure we're in the
2006.
minority.
We enjoy the simplicity of it. As far as there's
Yeah.
not really any computers. You want to turn the air up, you turn the knob from number 2 to number 4.
Oh,
Yeah,
because
there's no
I hated that on my
automatic
4Runner.
temperature
Had the
controls or
automatic.
anything. It's
Yeah.
very simple. And I know a
That's
lot
a
of people are
preference.
into
It's a
gadgets
preference.
and the buttons, and there's not really much of that in this one at all. We really
No.
like that about it.
We were actually ready to go back to that kind of style
Yeah.
for that, and also the next one, which was like
This
a
one's
major
fun.
point for me,
Yeah.
is the headrest issue.
Yeah.
Has anybody else noticed that as cars get newer, they keep changing the headrest, so now you're sitting
I don't
like
know
this?
what year that started. It was like maybe 2000. Well, no, it was shortly after. In fact, because I had my 2006 Civic had the headrests where they point at your head, because
Yeah.
some kind of increased whiplash requirements that they had to deal with. So now all the
You know,
headrests
yeah.
point at your head, and it's
supposed
really tough to be
help
comfortable.
us for safety. So
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying whether it does or it doesn't. I can't evaluate that.
Right.
But I will say it's uncomfortable to me. It bothers me. So that was another reason I wanted an older truck. Because what year was my 4Runner?
2006. It's a popular year. No, was it?
I don't know.
I can't
Maybe that's the wrong
remember.
person.
Actually,
I don't know.
I think it was a 2006.
Okay, because it had the older headrest that was
Yeah.
comfortable sitting. His truck, which was newer, had a terrible headrest. And so we were happy. We definitely were like, yes, okay, we know we have to get used. We're getting older anyway. Let's make sure that it has comfortable headrest and comfortable...
We're getting older anyway.
No, I mean that we're getting an older vehicle anyway. Well, we're getting older too. I don't know. We're all just
Don't have
getting
to
older.
worry about our safety as much. We're getting older anyway. Mid-30s.
Oh my
Wow.
Well, one of us is upper 30s.
You want to go there?
So, yeah,
Okay.
but no, and they have more comfortable seats. The older vehicles do. They're just more comfortable.
Yeah, it's more, the
Yeah.
foam is softer. I don't know what it is. But
Look, they don't look as nice, all right? So you gotta take it
That's
for what
right.
it's worth, but they are more comfortable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've sat in some of these new trucks just checking them out, and they are gorgeous. I mean,
yeah.
beautiful. And would I love to drive one of those down the road? Of course.
What is it that Zach wants?
The High Country.
The high... Man,
Silverado High Country. Now,
those
that
are
is
nice.
some truck.
Silverados are Anyway, all
Yeah,
right.
Okay. Next.
We're talking about
Back
what we
to
like about our
reality.
truck. Yeah.
Our used 2006 Dodge.
Oh, the biggest one.
This is a big one.
This is the biggest thing.
This makes it feel better driving the used truck down the road. It's paid for. That's a great thing.
When it left that parking lot with
Yes.
us, it was paid for.
Something about not paying interest on the vehicle that you're driving that feels good.
You're not being tied to a monthly payment, man.
Yes.
Whew.
Yeah. What is that?
Oh, the horns.
Oh, that's
I
you.
like. I like that it's a Ram. I like that it has the horns, and then it has the. I call them the hook'em
Not
horns.
that it's a
I
Dodge
know they're
Ram.
not
She likes that the animal is a ram.
Yeah, but I know they're not hook'em horns. All right.
Right.
I know that
Just
that's a
like
Texas
saying
thing,
it,
but
yeah.
I like calling them hook'em horns because Anyway.
Anyways. The last one that we have on our list here is the miles per gallon. And that's why one of the main reasons you buy a diesel. And ours, I think, has performed well. We're getting about 25 miles to the gallon, just regular driving, which for a big truck, I think is great. And for towing, we average between 13 to 15 miles per gallon, which again was about where I was expecting. So I'm real happy with that.
Yeah, and
really good.
And going back to that, like speaking about that, and also that we don't have any problems with mountains and things. We have definitely been on. It's a reliability thing, and we definitely feel that our vehicle is very reliable.
Yeah.
We have been on mountains climbing and just seen people just.
Really.
I mean, 20 miles an
really
hour trying to
slowing
pull
down.
their fifth
Yeah.
wheels and you
Yeah.
know, and Chris brought up a good point. It's not only do you not want to have to experience that, but that can be really hard on the other drivers as well. You know,
That's one of the most important things. I mean, I think for making a responsible decision on what kind of truck you get, looks, sure, all that's important, but you really, at the end of the day, have to buy the right truck for what you're trying to tow, because not only, I mean, that defines how it's going to perform, that affects whoever's in the truck with you, and even just as important, everybody else on the road. You know, it's tough, you know, when we've passed folks that are, you know, they've got a very small truck towing a very big trailer, and you know, you can do that math. You know, it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. So
right, and
yeah.
we're not judging anybody. We're
No,
just saying, you
no.
know, consider it for yourself. Take the time, do the math, and I mean, look, if we could figure it out,
like, but yeah,
with no experience,
if you need to buy an older truck so you can get more power to do what you need it to, you know, that would be a better decision than getting the fancier, newer one that looks nice but doesn't have the power that you need.
right?
You just
So-
got to make that compromise.
And I think in terms of, you know, we're joking around and telling you a lot of things that we like and dislike and, you know, incidental things. But the truth is, in terms of reliability, we're very, very pleased with our truck.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, it's done really well.
And for people who had no experience, that was a big deal to feel comfortable. Yeah, I mean, it's been over a year now, and we are so comfortable with it now.
Yeah, very happy with it. It was a good choice, and it's done really well.
Yeah, so let's take a look, and you can actually see what our truck looks like.
Yep, come on. Alright guys, so here she is. This is the one that we went with, and let's take a look inside. As you can see, what we mentioned before, some of our favorites, real basic interior, just your standard knobs and easy button controls, not many computers or anything like that, real easy to operate. The four-wheel drive, it's just the old turn the knob kind of thing. I think we've had to use four-wheel drive twice on the entire trip, but when we've needed it, it has worked well. Oh, yeah, there we go. There's Jenny's favorite.
The horns.
Love that emblem. Hook 'em horns. Got the little trip computer up there. Keeps track of your gas mileage, has the compass, that kind of thing. Real basic. And then we've got the nice back seat. We've got 4 doors on this thing. That is actually our inflatable kayak. That resides there full time. We keep that there. And I'll back out and I'll open up the back door just so you can see. And I've got my seat all the way back, and you can see still pretty good room in there to fit 2 or 3 adults. Relatively comfortable. Again, we went with the 6.5 foot bed. Here you can get a good look at the slide hitch that we went with. We got a Reese. I think the rating on the thing was like 16,000 pounds, which is almost double what we need, but I thought that was a good thing to have, more than what you need. And this is the, again, you can see the rails that it slides, so that's the slide hitch. If we ever needed to slide it, you unlock it, push this thing over here, it slides back, and then you lock it back into place. For some additional storage, I went with this. It's basically just a heavy-duty tote. I looked at doing the truck box thing. Of course, they're more expensive. This guy got a Tractor Supply, put a couple of padlocks on it, holds a lot of the stuff that I use for the exterior of the trailer, and it just sits in there. I mean, granted, somebody could just pick it up and run with it, but, you know, that hasn't happened yet, and I don't really expect it to, so that's really worked well for us. A couple other things real quick. So this, of course, came standard on the truck. That's a 7-pin adapter where you would plug the pigtail in for the fifth wheel. One thing that I had installed after the fact was you can have them installed at, let me just put the tailgate down. We had one installed inside the truck bed, same deal, they just run the power up and you can plug in there. I like that better because of course the pigtail, it's attached to the part of the tongue that goes into the hitch, and then you don't have to worry about the cord going up over the tailgate. It just goes right, everything stays in the bed of the truck. I like that, and it's worked really well. We haven't had any issues with things getting tangled up or pulling out. That would be one thing that I would recommend. Another thing that we thought about doing when we bought all of this stuff, you can get what's called a drop gate type of tailgate, which basically just has a depression there so that you don't have to put the tailgate up and down when you're hooking up. I'm sure that is very convenient. We chose not to do it, mainly just from a cost standpoint. We figured we'll just, for the time being, put the tailgate up and down, and really that hasn't been much of a problem for us at all. I think moving forward we probably wouldn't put the extra money into a drop gate. Not that they're not worth it, it's just something that we probably won't do. So that pretty much wraps up the quick tour. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you found some of the comments and tips helpful.
We're moving out, never know where we'll be. We're making plans.